What are the things that will inspire me every single day when I wake up and I say, okay, I've got this song in my head, and how do I get it out of my head and into a WAV file? Well, the really great thing about Ableton is that it allows you to take audio clips and switch them into MIDI clips, and then take those MIDI clips and switch it from a synthesizer into a glass piano, into a tuba. And so you can make those sounds into whatever you want. And so here are the 3 things that get me started with Ableton when I wake up and I say, okay, I need to create a new track. So 3 things that get you to your awesome sauce, okay? You start out with a great default template. So when you open up Ableton and you're like, I've got bit-up-up-bum going through my head, okay, I can just sing it into my, my phone, and then send it to myself as a message, then put it into Ableton as a WAV file, then send it to a MIDI file, and then all of a sudden I've got a piano going da-da-da-da-da. So that's the way that you start out with a great template, is you can open it up and you can throw something in right away, or you can just sing into it or rap into it or piano, whatever it is that you do right away, and it inspires you and gets you going. Number 2, always record in clip view. Don't try to go for arrangement view. The arrangement view is the timeline view, and that is something that every DAW has. The thing that's really cool about Ableton Live is that it's got that clip view. And so you can throw in and record several clips in a very non-linear fashion, and then grab those clips and throw it into the arrangement view later and say, oh, I'm going to switch this around, and now I'm going to grab this clip and I'm going to put it over here, and now I'm going to switch it up. It allows you to get a lot more creative and gives you a lot more freedom if you start out in that clip view. And number 3, change your normal. If your normal is, I'm a singer, take your voice and switch it into a MIDI, and then take it and switch it into a drum beat. You do something that changes it up so that this way it's not exactly as you think it should be, because that is where the creativity and the really interesting mistakes end up happening. So get weird with it, change it into something different, so that this way you can keep yourself inspired. So then comes some more important parts. That's when you switch it into the arrangement view and you start to arrange your song. The next thing that happens is that you start to produce your stems. So in other words, each track gets a certain production line to it, so that this way each track ends up sounding good. Next thing that you do, and we're not going to talk about this today, is mixing, because that's something that is a separate job from the actual production and getting your stems in order. And when I say stems, I also mean WAV files, and I also mean clips. I use them interchangeably, sorry about that. The next thing is mastering, and that is a separate job. If you really, really want to be smart, send your mastering to somebody else. Nobody masters their own material objectively, period, exclamation point. Even if you master, don't master yourself. And then releasing it. Releasing it is something, again, it's a different job, so we're not going to be talking about it today. So we're going to get back to what are some of the vital tips. If you're new to Live, learn your hotkeys. Command, comma, is. Somebody? Command, comma. Thank you. Preferences. Well, a very, very important one. Command R. Rename your track. Get to know your hotkeys. You can save yourself half the time in songwriting if you just get to know your hotkeys. Just like the way professional people in Photoshop know all of their hotkeys, we need to know them too. It's fantastic for Ableton. Right click or control click if you're on Apple. Absolutely everything. Just get to know your DAW. It is amazingly deep if you just control click on everything. Find out all the good juicy things that are within it, because there's amazing things that happen if you just learn how to right click or control click on everything in Ableton. Use your collections. Collections is something that's new in Ableton 10. And if you have Ableton 10, then you know what I'm talking about as far as collections. It's this little thing that's in the upper left-hand corner, and it's where you keep all of your favorites. And you can store your samples, your instruments, your templates, anything that you want within that. So make sure that you use it. And practice Ableton as if it were a musical instrument. For 1 solid year, I opened up Ableton every single day and I wrote a song. Most of them were lousy, but I got used to the commitment of writing a song, and now I write songs pretty darn well. So the reason why is because I kept on practicing. Just like the way I practice as a vocalist, and I need to keep those muscles going, I need to keep my songwriting juices going by constantly practicing, and I do it in my musical instrument, which happens to be the computer, which is Ableton. So if you want to get good at it, you gotta practice. Okay, first thing, starting with a great template. Oh great, you can't see any of this stuff. Terrific. Okay, I'm gonna have to tell you what this stuff is. Okay, so on this side, these are all of my MIDI tracks. Okay, this is strobe, cipher, equator, I've got poly-6 in here, I've got a regular drum rack, I've got a simpler, and I've got a MIDI bass. Then I've got a return track, okay, that is a return for all of these. This is a grouping of returns. Then I have a great divide, okay, this is the black track, which is just a dummy track, and it's to divide up everything that has to do with MIDI and everything that has to do with audio, okay? So over here are my audio tracks. These are the things that I would do external instruments in. So vocal, guitar, piano, bass, and synthesizers. And then I've got my return tracks for all of those. Also, this is a big grouping. So, this is recording in clip view. This is what the clip view looks like. So when I open up audio returns, this is what you end up seeing. And what you see is that I have all of them armed, okay? When you click on this, that means that it's armed. It means that it's ready to record. It also, that's where you get the circles from. The squares means that it's not ready to record yet. So this right here, for example, the vocal return, which I don't know if you can see that or not, but this says audio from vocal, okay? And this is a drop-down menu, and it has everything that you see in that drop-down menu as far as each track. And so I have chosen to take the return from here to here and record everything. Why? Why am I taking something that I can arm this track and say, I want my vocal in over here and just record it like that? Why aren't I just, recording it straight over here? Well, the reason why is I am gonna arm that track. I'm gonna record something dry. I'm also on that track going to put in reverb and delays and things that make my voice sound really cool and really nice. And that's the difference between the wet and the dry. This one, I'm recording it dry, but on the track itself, I've got all the wet ingredients. Over here, I end up recording the wet. And then later on, when I'm in arrangement, I'm gonna use both of those tracks and I'm going to mix them together so that this way my voice comes through when I want it to, and then those delicious reverbs and delays come through when I need them to. And that's how you end up mixing your voice or any instrument between wet and dry in a really nice and precise way. The other thing is that when you're doing something like this, if you're working with a MIDI file, okay, let's say you're working in MIDI and you're playing your synthesizer and you just get into it and you start turning knobs and everything, and then you've recorded the MIDI, but it doesn't have everything in it that you did, okay? Not necessarily. It doesn't necessarily record all of the automation curves, let's say, or it doesn't record when you're putting on some extra reverbs from some effects that you've put on. That's why I end up having the MIDI returns as well, so that this way it records into an audio file, and then I can take that audio file and I can chop it, I can send it into transients, I can make the frequencies go up and down, I can turn it into a drum rack, I can do whatever I want with it. So this is the flow of being able to go back and forth between audio and MIDI. Becomes really, really important to make sure that you have recorded every idea that you have as soon as you're opening it up. If you record everything, you'll have it and you'll be able to remember it. If you don't record it, it can get lost in the wind. So record everything, have recorded returns from every single track that you create. 3, change your normal, get weird. This right here is convert audio to MIDI. That's what I've been talking about for the last whatever. You can change just by grabbing an audio track and switching it into a MIDI track. You'll end up having this box. By dragging and dropping, you'll have this box. And it asks you, do you want the melody itself? Do you want it to turn into a drum track, or do you want it to turn into a harmony track? And it will give you different notes depending upon how you answer this question. Play something crazy, just like do something, you know, in your MIDI instrument that is your vocal, and then turn it into a harmony trumpet and see how that sounds. And, you know, maybe it'll sound great. Maybe that'll end up being the hook to your song. You never know. Once you're done filling up your tracks and you've got all the clip view done, this is when you turn into arrangement, okay? Now on your default template, you should have locators marked, okay? I'm actually upset that there's no hotkey for add locator still, but apparently there isn't. So you have to go into the menu and add a locator. But if you open up a default template that already has this, you don't have to worry about adding those locators. What I have here is just some random locators. The beginning of the song, the main song. Okay, so intro, main song, first build up, breakdown, add the awesome sauce right here. Every song has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Every song has a climax, that aha moment that goes, oh, I know what that person meant to tell me. I am feeling that part of the music. And it usually goes about 2/3 of the way in. That's when your climax moment is. You want to have something where it's like, oh, I've got this great idea for this gorgeous thing that happens as the climax of my song, and I don't know anything else. But I know where to put it because it's already marked on my template. Main song, you can break it off so that this way you know when your intro comes. You just start dropping things in the right order, and then all of a sudden you have a basic song. So this is just random stuff. This is the reason why I'm not playing it. I'm showing you how it looks. So what I have here is I have an intro, and I have an intro with a drum rack. Okay, over here is a simpler. It comes in 16 beats. What do you think it is? It's EDM. It's a riser. Next thing I have is I have the main song. I have some song build up, and then the first build up happens, and then I want to cut out where the main thing happens, where the climax. I want to drop out the beats and add in a different beat, and you know, then have a drop off after that. So everything is set up for me so that this way I can start arranging and producing the individual tracks. So down here is a kind of close-up view of what I've done with my drum rack. This is a representation of my drum rack. I have my ping off, I have my saturator off, but I have my tuner on. By the way, quick tip, grab a tuner, throw it on your drum rack. Take the drums, tune them up by 2 octaves, and then tune your drums to the key of the song itself, and then drop them back down the 2 octaves so that this way your song is tuned, your drums are tuned to the key of the song. People can hear it. They'll hear something discordant if it's not tuned right, and you won't know what it is. So make sure to tune your drums and make sure that they go to mono so that this way you just don't want to hear. Unless you have a very specific way of moving drums, you really don't want to do it. It's too low a frequency and the wavelengths are too long. I won't talk about that too much. Anyway, but yeah, tune your drums and send them to mono.
5 more minutes.
Okay, recap. Okay, so start with a default template that inspires you and has you ready to create as soon as you open up in Ableton Live. Record your ideas in clip view and then arrange them in arrangement view. Change your normal, i.e. play guitar, turn your audio clip into a MIDI, make something crazy different, turn it into a tuba. And sometimes it will sound absolutely awful, but sometimes it's a brilliant thing, and it could be the hook to your song or the climax or something. And that becomes great. Most importantly, have fun. So I hope I've inspired you to write some more music. There you go.